Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be discussing headers and footers, the similarities and differences between how they work in a classic theme versus an FSE theme. Alright, so earlier we talked about dragging and dropping blocks and customizing them how we want and changing the text and how easy that is. Now, in an FSE theme, okay, we're going to have, well, at least for the green shift theme, there's going to be some patterns and templates to work with. But here on the classic theme, at least for this starter template, it's based on green shift blocks, as you can see, to keep with parity. And this is a header, this one is a button, and we can find all of those here. But it's all pre-formatted. What if we want to start with a blank slate? Now that's real simple. If we have green shift installed, we'll go over here and you can see green shift helpers and then click on templates. And we'll use some of these later on in FSE, but this is what we can get away with a classic theme. So you can see some of them are premium or pro, and some of them require additional add-ons. But if we click on free, there are a whole bunch of sections that we can use to customize our site. So we have sections, we have wireframes, obviously FSE templates for the FSE, and a lot of them require add-ons, but we can still drag and drop them over here. So for example, if we didn't want to rock the call to action down here, we can go ahead and click on import, and it's going to appear at the bottom of our page. But just like all of the other blocks, as you can see on the cursor, it's actually a container or a section, and we can drag and drop that and then customize it how we want. Welcome to our website. This is a hero section template. And it's going to make it easier. So we don't have to stick with this, and we also don't have to custom make the whole thing. If we didn't like the design of this where we have everything on the left hand side and these little icons over here, we can rock with this one, which has a list, and you can customize it how you want. So let's go ahead and click on save and reload our site, and you'll see that it just loads up how it does in the preview. Okay, and then obviously this that we put in there earlier when we edited our homepage, and you can see everything's kept there, and we can add and subtract as much as we want. And you can see again from the templates that we have here, they're organized in the green shift library, at least, very well organized for different purposes, and we can use them for hard headers and footers. That is to say, we can have them separate from our headers and footers in the customizer.
Now let's take a look at the actual template library that is in an FSE theme such as green shift. So earlier we showed you that you can download a template library from green shift or somewhere else and use it in your classic theme. But that's just adding things in the block editor on specific pages. The difference with an FSE theme is that let's go here on our dashboard, and under appearance, let's click on editor, and you will find here all of the templates that actually make up an FSE theme versus just a bunch of templates that we can, or wireframes or block matrices that we can add onto a normal site. You can see here's our website, and we have navigation here, which is our menu. We have styles, and we'll take a look at this later. We have the pages that we have, our templates, and our patterns. And now you can see that here, it's probably the easiest way to discuss this is all of our templates is once we edit these, right? And we're going to take a look at some of these more in depth, is that if we edit this, all of our search result site page things will look the same. Or for instance, single posts, if we wanted to set up how our single posts would look like, we would edit it here, and you can see there's a placeholder image, and we can change the typography of the text and the format, and so on and so forth. And later on, we're going to go ahead and change, and we're going to do this a bit. We're doing this segment a bit retroactively. We have our patterns here, and you can see we have our template parts. And from here, we can change how our footer looks like, how our header looks like, how our page title looks like, our post title area looks like. So if I was to click on this, you will see that later on in the video, we have changed and edited our footer to look like this. So this is how you access all of the parts that you want to edit. But we're going to go through all of these in the video one by one and save our changes.
How do we customize the headers in a classic theme? So again, as we've mentioned, the main difference between a classic and FSE theme is that you'll have to go to the customizer for certain features. So in this case, let's go ahead and click on Customize. I'll open a new tab just so it's easier to see. And we'll end up here on our customizer, and at least for Blocksy. And keep note that on different themes, you might find some options here in the customizer, even if it's a classic theme, and you might find some others within your dashboard. So that's something to keep in mind. So whatever we do here in Blocksy, it's a bit of like a general analog thing rather than all classic themes. But generally, we'll find our header settings in the customizer. So one of the limitations with using the customizer is that WordPress, well, the customizer, the Gutenberg has been in development for over 20 years. Some of it is a bit passé or outmoded, and we're kind of limited. But at the same time, it can be a good thing where the limitation makes it easier for us to customize, and we don't have to think about the burden of adding too much. So let's take a look at how this works. So we have 3 rows here, top row, main row, and bottom row. And we have these little blocks here, these little widgets that we can drag and drop, okay, to these pre-specified points. And you can see that the logo now moves over here. And let's go ahead and take a look at the gear icons first. And let's go ahead and take a look at these. These gear icons change the container, some settings. We can change the background for this one in particular. Let's go ahead and go with this pink color over here. We can change the border, and we can change what color it is when it's sticky. And we can also change the color of the background on desktop, tablet, and mobile. Okay, and then each one of these have their own separate options as well, right, for the background. And let's go ahead and add a color for this. And let's drop this down here. And you'll see that they are all different. Okay, next let's go ahead and take a look at all of these. So we can add menus, right? We can add a search button over here. We can add socials down here. Okay, and you can see that this one is sticky. So here's where it's limited, yet it could be an advantage or a disadvantage, where we only have 3 rows and we're only limited to all of these points where we want to put them. And you can see that the search icon moves over here. So if you aren't really experienced with WordPress, this is like real simple, real easy, and you don't actually have to use all of these rows. You can just stick with one and then make it simple like that. For purposes of this video, we're going to use all of them just so you can see. And next we have this tab here called Headers, and we have global header over here. And okay, so we can enable or disable the sticky functionality from here. Okay, and then everything just closes up and it's not sticky. We can enable it, and we have a few options here. We can have only the main row be sticky. We can have the main and bottom row sticky, and there's like 6 different ones to choose from. And we also have effects, right? So when we go down here, it fades in. We have this one where it's gonna slide in, and you can just go ahead and play with all of these. Let's just enable all of them just for demonstration purposes, and you can see all 3 of them are shown. And we can change the animation speed, the offset, right, for responsive settings, and we can enable or disable it as transparent. And we also have we can also change the background color for these when it is default or sticky. Before we move forward, if you clicked on any of these, right? So we dragged and dropped, let's say for the logo, right? We can click on the logo box here, and then we can go ahead and customize this and change it up how we want. We can change the logo height. We can enable or disable the tagline. We can change the content alignment as well. And we're going to take a look at the menus later. But if you clicked on this, we'll have options for the menus. If you clicked on this, we'll have options for search and options for socials and buttons and whatever else appears on here. Now keep in mind that not everything, such as sticky headers and all of these widgets, will be available depending on whether it's free or if it's pro, and again depending on the specific theme you're using. So let's click on publish, and once that's done saving, let's go ahead and reload our site, and you can see that our changes are immediate. And it's sticky and it's not. I mean, it's homed.
Now let's take a look at setting up the header. So again, we're on Green Shift, the Green Shift tab on our left-hand sidebar under Theme Settings, and we're in the wizard here. Click on Header Pattern, and you can see we have a few different options here for presets for the header. So we have this one as our default. We have this, and let's go ahead and choose probably this one. Okay, and it should load if we choose that one. Click on Save. Let's see what happens. Okay, there you go. It's kind of changed. How about with this one? You can see it changed up a bit more. And we also have our templates from the template library. And we have, well, there aren't any free ones, but as you can see, there are some options that you can choose from. But now let's go ahead and edit our template in the site editor. So we've chosen a template here, and we can customize it however we want. So this is a good starting point for us. So let's go ahead and enter the site editor, and you can see that between this and this, it's very different because we still haven't reloaded this. So now again, we can choose our site options here, our header options from our template list here, and we also have our menus. So we'll take a look at this in a bit, but right now we want to focus on making the header. So if we wanted to add more options here, let's probably use some templates here, some sections, I guess, and there's a few to choose from. We can go with some featured products or something. This banner, let's go ahead and import this, and it should pop down right here. And let's say we wanted to add another one, category carousel, I guess. And this is just an example, mind you. We can go ahead and click on Save, and you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and probably technically more rows and layers here. And once we reload our site, you can see that this entire thing is now our header. And this is just for demonstration purposes. Obviously, we don't want a header this big. And let's go ahead and enter our settings here. And if we go down here to Advanced, we can enable or disable it being a sticky header. So it's buried within our advanced settings, but it's good to know that we can make this happen. So let's go ahead and click on Save, and let's test out our sticky header. So this is it not being sticky, and let's scroll down and then scroll up, and you can see that this whole thing is now a sticky header. So just to illustrate that you aren't limited by the 3 rows that you're given with in the stock customizer header, and you're not limited to the rows. So if I wanted to change this up, I can move our menu over here, I can move this phone number, I can add our logo, and so on and so forth, and then save it, and just watch that this applies to the entire site. Right, and we can even go to our sample page, and our header stays the same there too.
Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at footers. We're here on our home page. We're going to scroll down, and this is our footer. Now, the same way, we're going to enter our customizer, okay? And under header is our footer. Very easy. And much in the same way that we've customized our header, we have options for our footer. but there's one major difference. Well, a couple major differences, but the first among them, let's scroll down here on our preview. The first among them is that we have these widgets, okay, that we can customize, and we can customize the amount of columns that we have. So if I wanted, I could put 6 columns here, and I could put 6 different items within these spaces, and we can change the spacing among them. So these middle ones are going to be wider than the side ones, and much in the same way as the header, we can go ahead and drag and drop things that we want to see on here. And let's go ahead and return back here. We can put our socials, we can put a menu over here, and we can put another widget area over here. Okay, and you can see it's as simple as that. We have 3 rows, and we can customize the amount of columns here. Now, how about these widget areas? Let's click on one, and you can see that we have the block inserter here. So we can add a block, we can add patterns, we can add media, and we can customize this how we want from here. And we have some options for vertical and horizontal alignment to see how it looks like. But later on in the video, we're going to be taking a look at configuring our menus and configuring the widgets. So while you could edit this widget here within the customizer, it might be a better idea to do it in the backend, in the dashboard. Just go ahead and click on Publish, and let's reload our site. And you can see that we have customized it to an extent.
Let's now take a look at our footer. And just like the header pattern, we have a few different options to choose from. Okay, so we have this, and this. Probably go with the mega footer because it looks so similar to the template ones that we have on our classic theme. And if we go under templates, there are some sample footer templates that we can choose from. You know what? Let's go ahead and import this one with the purple just so we have a bit of color. And you can see we scroll down, all the way down. You can see we have this as our footer now. So we're going to click on Save. And if we wanted to customize this, we will go ahead and enter the site editor, right? Or you can just click on Edit Page. And it takes us to the editor probably for Edit Site. And here is our template editing area for our footer. So again, just like everything else, we can add things here. So we're not confined to the widgets and whatnot. Again, we can have our templates, and we'll take a look at that later. But we can just add things here, such as a map or something on the very top, and we won't, that's fine. We won't be constrained to the limit of 3 rows and however many columns they allow you to put in the stock classic themes. So let's go down here. You can see we have our default one. And here we have our customized one. And you can see we aren't constrained by the number of columns and rows that the classic ones do have.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the menus and widgets within a classic WordPress theme, such as Blocksy. So we're on our dashboard, and under Appearance, we have widgets and menus. Let's go ahead and open these in separate tabs just to make things quicker. So let's start off with menus. So we have our main menu here, and as you can see, we have Home Services, About Us, News, Contact. And we can just go ahead and drag and drop these to make them submenu items, okay? And we can put them out here or sub-menu items. And let's go ahead and click on Save Menu. And you'll see that once we reload our site, things have changed a bit. Well, a lot. And that's really an easy way to configure these menu items to be sub or sub-sub items. And we can also choose to display them on the footer menu, the header menu, 1 and 2. And depending on your theme, you might have more. We can also choose to display it on the mobile menu. Now, if you wanted to add more pages and posts, we can go ahead and click on these, right? And you can search for them or a custom link, right? So let's click on these and add them to the menu, and they will show up. So we can go ahead and put these all under this one and save the menu. And once we reload our site, you can see we have all of these under each other. And if we wanted to create a new menu, we can do just that. And we'll call this extra menu. And you can have this on header menu too. We'll create that and just click on all of these. We'll just add a whole bunch of random ones. Okay, and then these ones add to menu. And we're gonna save this menu. Okay, as you can see, menu 1 and mobile menu are set to the other menu named main menu. So let's go ahead and reload our site, and if we have a menu on the footer, you'll see that instead of having the home and services and about us ones from earlier, it's now this. Okay, and we can also manage the locations from here. So footer menu, it's set to this. If we set it to main menu, save the changes, or we can use and make a brand new menu for that. That's how it changes. And if you wanted to change the appearance of this, you'd have to go in the customizer, and then let's go ahead and do that. Let's enter the customizer real quick and head over to footer, and under menu, okay, let's scroll down. You'll see we have some options here, and you can change the spacing, we can change the design of this menu, right? Stretch menu, and we can change which menu to use, right? The extra menu or not. And likewise, we can also do the same with our header and the menu, right? And we can even add menu 2 down here. Okay, and we'll have our extras, right? And if you clicked on this, we will have a different design for this second menu. You can change the spacing and inner item spacing and a bunch of other cool things. So let's go ahead and click on publish and reload. And you can see our menus here have changed. We've added this one, and it has a different appearance to our original one. Now, let's take a look at the widgets, the widget areas. So here, in the widget area, under appearance, you will find our main sidebar, our footer widget area 1 through 6, and inactive widgets. We can drag and drop these into here, right? Footer widget area 2, and as you can see here, the reason why it makes more sense to edit our widgets and sidebar within our back end is that we get the sidebar over here to customize these properly. So it makes it a bit easier. It's as if we're working with a block editor to customize these ones individually. And if we wanted to, we can go ahead and add as much blocks as we want. Click on update. Let's go ahead and reload our site. And once we scroll down over here, we'll see that our widget area has been changed. And if it's not loading, it's probably because it's a bit too big. And it's as simple as that. Okay, we can also go ahead and just even change the text if we wanted to. So it's like for this one, let's change the text color to green, and it'll probably be a much more visible change. Okay, there you go.
All right, so let's take a look at setting up and configuring the menu in FSE themes such as GreenShift. So let's go ahead and enter the editor. So appearance, and click on editor. And from here, we will head over to our header template. And we're going to go ahead and head over to our patterns over here and header, and then just go ahead and click on this one. And now we have our header here, and we're going to configure this. And you can see we have our navigation here as an example. So let's open up our live site in a new tab just so we can see the differences. And here we have our menu here that shows a sample page and the home page. And let's take a look at adding and adding items and customizing the menu itself. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click on this and head over to navigation, and you can see we can add a block and we can add a new page. So for instance, we want to put an about us page, and currently we don't have that. On our site, we only have a sample page and home. And if you click on, it's going to give us a prompt to add an About Us page. And now we have a new page that is an About Us page. And then later on, we can go ahead and publish this and then set that up. We can also add, we can add a block here. So we can put a search icon over here. And we can go ahead and save this real quick. And we can take a look at our live site. And you can see we now have our search bar here. And then we can customize the distance of this. Now take note that the About Us says draft, and it doesn't appear here. Now if we were to publish this later from our back end, from the editor, it's going to appear over here. So let's take a look at now customizing some of the elements that we have. So let's go ahead and click on edit, and yeah, we want to say yes. We can go over here, right? We clicked on home, and we'll put the cursor blinker over here, and we can add an inline image. And we've already uploaded this icon from our library, and let's go ahead and change the let's go ahead and change the size here. And now it's a bit smaller. So that's one way of customizing it. And we can also change the appearance of these. And for instance, this one, we can change the image gap. From there, we can change the bottom margin. I'll reset that. We can go over here, and there's a few different styles to choose from. We can also change the size of the font, and we can also change the dimensions. So we'll choose one of these just to show you guys. And if you wanted to add a submenu, you can do that. You can add the custom link to that, or we can go over here and you can drag and drop it to go on the side. So for example, we want sample page to be a submenu item of home, and there you go. And alternatively, we can do the same and move this search bar up and down, and you can see it changes position. We can also put the About Us over here, and it's going to drop down for us over there. I'll take it out just so that we have visual confirmation of how these things look. Now we have other options here. So if we go back to navigation, and this is the parent block, and you can see all of the elements we have here. We can add a page link, a submenu, buttons, a custom link, or a bunch of other different blocks if you so wished. We also have this next tab here, and we can change the justification, and it's not really doing anything, just because of how it's set up here with the containers and all. We can also change it to be a vertical menu. We can change the mobile menu icon to be over here. We can show the arrow for the submenu items. We can close it. We can also change the hover color for the text, and you can see that the text color changes there, and so on and so forth, depending on how you want it to be. So for the submenu item, here we go. Hover background color, let's make it blue, and when we hover over it, you can see a little bit of blue peaks over there. Okay. Now we can also change our padding sizes and our horizontal padding here. We'll just keep it on default. And last but not least, we have our separate text options here. So if we wanted our default text to be purple, we could do that. We can change our default background to be a different color. We can change our submenu overlay. And you can see there's a bit of yellow peeking through there. We can also change our block spacing. I'll just keep that on default there. And that's how you set up your menu in green shift FSE theme. So let's go ahead and reload this, and you can see now we've changed up our website. Now, just real quick, let's go ahead and visit our dashboard and publish this About Us page. So I'm going to go to Pages, and we're going to find it over here, About Us, right? And we're going to go ahead and click on Publish from here. Click on Publish, and yeah, we're going to publish that. Yippee. Now, let's reload the site, and now About Us appears down here. So, whereas this one, we can click on this and it's going to take us there. We can click on About Us and it's going to take us there as well.
Hey, if you found this video helpful, be sure to check out one of our other videos, or go ahead and check out our channel and subscribe to see more content like this.